everyone. Welcome back. We have a very different setup today because I like variety. I need change. I need a different environment, a different setting, or I go crazy, which is why whenever I get a little stir crazy, feel a little caged in, I will just like leave the country or at the least leave the state and just go elsewhere. But it's super fun. It's a super fun life to live. You really never know how you're going to feel on any given day. And we can blame this on my astrology or my trauma, but either way, I don't care because I don't think everything needs to be solved. I think there are some things that other people might find problematic, but as long as it's not negatively impacting your life or anyone else's life that you care about, then I say go with it. I say just keep living. So, all of that to say, we have a new environment, a new little backdrop. This will probably change before the next time again. I've been living here for a year, and it wasn't until very recently that I was like, let me actually settle in. I started painting a bunch of rooms. I got a bunch of new artwork, some of which I've put up and some I haven't because I have a hard time asking for like favors for things like that. But I'm a little bit challenged when it comes to anything having to do with numbers or math, which is hilarious because my whole life is numbers and and figuring that out. But like when it comes to getting precise measurements, measuring things, that's not my that's not where I shine. I'm not about the literal. I work best in more of like the felt sense, like more of the 5D where energies can't be perceived. Anyway, off of that rabbit trail. Okay. I wrote down. So I've shared this before. I like almost never have a plan for what I'm going to talk about. When I sit down and I record, I just know I'm going to do it and I never have a problem with finding and like figuring out shit to say. But this week I had a thought and I like jotted it down in my notes real quick. I will lift the veil for a minute whenever I'm like driving or in the shower or walking or just have like a random thought of, ooh, that's something I should talk about because it's something I experienced. I write it down as like a potential for a podcast episode. And typically it's like stuff I save for in the future if I ever really need something. But considering that I've had so much evidence of this exact topic in my life, not only over the past couple years, but it's actually led me to have this crazy radical manifestation faith energy recently. It has to be shared. It has to come out. And I was okay. I was talking with a friend this week. And like I've been pretty open that recently things are going pretty well for me. The universe is just like, here, baby, all the gifts, all the things you want. It's so nice. It's been so great. But that's not to say every little area and aspect of my life is firing off in the most perfect form. Now, I believe that everything is coming together to support my highest good because I have so much evidence that that is always the way that things pan out. But some things just take a little bit more time. Some things need a little bit more time and space to come in the right way because everything is all moving together. Like I like to think of the way that the universe and the energies work together is like, when you go to those like the aquariums when you're a kid and you put the penny in and you turn and all of the cogs like work together and fit in properly. That's how I like to think about the way that this happens. Everything has to fit together and form in the exact proper way to move things in the right direction for you and have the right kind of outcome. So I know that that's what's happening right now, but it's not always such an instant process, right? Some things super fast, hit right away, everything's awesome. Some things it's not the right time because all of the other pieces haven't fallen into place yet. Get what I'm saying? Okay, good. So I know that. I have faith in that. Now, my like higher self, beautiful belief side of things that typically dominates my mental and emotional space is pretty good at remembering this. But every now and then that little human side creeps in and she's like, but aren't you scared? But aren't you nervous? But aren't you like stressed about this thing? And so my little human brain that's trying to keep me safe, that's trying to be like, hey, we should probably worry about this, that comes in and tries to kick in and tries to take me out of my beautiful Delulu land that I work and live so well in. It creeps up. It happens. It's so normal. Nobody is free from that side of things. Or if they are, they're better than me. I don't know. But I'm being real. I still have moments where even with everything I know, with even with everything that I preach, with even with everything that I believe in, I still have those moments of fear and anxiety. They still come in. And I was having lunch with a friend this week and I was like I was visibly a little stressed out and they were like, is everything okay? And I was like, yeah, like I just have anxiety. Like there's a lot of things up in the air right now. Everything's kind of floating. Everything's kind of like just there. And I have so many things that I just don't know which one is about to drop and fall into my lap. And there's just a lot of moving parts. Then after, voicing all of the emotional components of what I was feeling, I also said, but I know it's all going to work out because I've had so many instances in my life, and I kind of said it joking, like things always work out perfectly for me at the 11th hour. And it's the most insane way that it falls into place, but it always does. And it falls in so much better than I could have predicted. And I said this kind of tongue in cheek, but I meant every word because at this point, when things feel the scariest, when things feel like that major, oh shit, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm nervous. I'm anxious. I'm scared. I have all of these big emotions. I have all of these protection mechanisms that are trying to keep me safe and trying to problem solve. It takes away from that trust factor. But I know that even though I'm feeling that, everything is about to work out. Like, I know that that's that final, like, pinching and pushing before the breakthrough comes. And when I was thinking about this episode, because of this conversation I'd had at lunch, the phrase that came to my mind was breakdown before breakthrough. Because right before that big, incredible moment where your manifestation, your highest potential, your new offer, whatever you want to call it, comes in, there is typically some kind of breaking that happens. I think I've used this analogy before, but it's just so fitting for how much nature imitates life and the cycles of life imitate those of nature. Like, think about all of the cycles that we get to witness in our everyday lives where things break down before they break through. The cycles that we go through in, where I live in most of the continental US and most of the world, where you have the seasons other than places like, California and Florida. And like the more closer to the equator you get, things are a little bit different. But like in a traditional, when you have seasons, you have spring where everything's blooming and budding, and then summer where everything's lush. And then August is when things start to kind of die down and go dormant. And winter is when everything is seemingly dead. Like, that's what we say. I know it's not. We all know it's not. We know that these things never really die. They just go dormant. But that's how we talk about it. We say, oh, the trees are dead. There's no leaves. There's no flowers. The grass is dead. It's brown. But it's not. But it looks that way. It looks like there's been a breakdown. And what happens is all of that has to change before the new season can begin. Birth, something that all species have been doing for eons. What happens right before the new life, the new soul is birthed? You have one of the most painful experiences that is known to be one of the most painful experiences. I have a friend, God, my hat's off to her. She just had an unmedicated home birth and she was talking to me about it. And I was just overcome at like her strength and her resilience. And now she has this beautiful baby and she brought this new soul into the world. But that couldn't have happened without that breakdown. Her breakthrough of bringing this new life could not have happened without this pain, this almost like debilitating, agonizing pain that you have to go through, that final push just before you stretch. I used the analogy of the butterfly. You know, I shared that the analogy of a butterfly really stuck with me last year. Most people talk about the metamorphosis of there's this caterpillar and it has to go through this almost dark night of the soul where it's tight and constricted in this cocoon and it's being morphed and changed into something beautiful or something we perceive as so beautiful. You know, we look at that symbol of how much good can come out of this breakdown. And what I've noticed, and the reason I was able to say this to my friend when we were talking about it, the reason I was able to so confidently, not in a delusional kind of manifesty way, but like truly, I genuinely believe this from the bottom of my soul, that I don't know what's going to happen. I'm a little stressed, but I know everything is going to work out, is because I've seen it happen so many times. I've seen and been faced with so many situations that felt like the breakdown that I was having was going to end me. And then I just pushed through that last bit of resilience that it's going to take. And I actually truly believe that there's some kind of energetic component to this. I believe that people, you know, Christians, religion will call it like a test from God to see if you're really ready for this. And while we all know that I don't subscribe to any kind of Christian faith or any kind of organized religion, I do believe there's an energetic sense to this wherein you need to show yourself and the energies and the frequencies that this is something you're choosing. I don't think it's necessarily a test being given by like a specific being, but I do believe that it's that last final bit of discomfort that you have to make the decision. Am I going into this or am I going to go back into what's comfortable? Am I going to choose the breakdown? That final push, that final pain, that final discomfort, that final agony before something great is birthed, before that breakthrough? Or am I going to choose to stay back here where it's comfortable and I'm safe, but I'm unhappy? And the reason that I have so much confidence with this is because of the amount of times in my life this has played out. Like I said it in a joking way where I was like, oh, everything always works out for me right as it's all about to crash. But it actually does. So even though in my external and some of my internal world, there is that what's about to happen, there is that uncertainty, there is that little bit of fear present, I have so much evidence that everything always works out for the best for me. Even if in the moment I can't see that. Even if in the moment it feels like, holy shit, this is bad. Like, how did we get here? What happened? I thought this was great. I thought that this was a great opportunity or a great person. Like, nobody goes into a relationship, or at least I hope you don't, thinking like, oh my God, this person's so awful. But you know what? I think I'm going to give it a shot. Like, everyone thinks that the best outcome is going to happen. No one goes into a marriage. No one spends thousands of dollars and all of the paperwork and taxes and everything that has to happen to get married to get divorced. Yet divorce rates are so high. Everyone always has the best intentions when they go into a situation, but those situations don't always work out that way. And then you have to look at yourself and be like, okay, well, look, this sucks. The situation didn't turn out the way that I wanted it to. Maybe it served me for a season. Maybe there's a lesson here, maybe there's not. Either way, I need to move. I need to go into the new. And that's never really gonna be the most comfortable process, at least not for me. I don't know. If the rest of you have figured it out, how to make your entire life and all of its transitions and all of its up levels so seamless and great and beautiful and perfect and easy, good for you. Give me the recipe book because I am kind of failing my way through figuring this out. But I'm coming out of it with so much confidence in myself that I can get through anything. And that's something that, like, there's that like TikTok trend or that joke about like, what did your trauma give you? And mine's like, I have so much confidence that literally nothing is going to be too hard for me. Like, I've already been through some of the worst of the worst. So, whatever. I don't really worry about too much else beyond that. Anything else I can navigate. Anything else I can figure out. Because at least this time I'm an adult. You know, at least this time I have the ability to like move and make decisions and have logic and resources and everything. So if everything then is able to be figured out, and you know that in order to have something great, accomplish something great, achieve something great, there typically has to be some kind of, I want to say, equal or opposite reaction to what you're willing to let go of and what you're willing to go through to get there. If you know all of this, then why worry? Then why stress? If you know that in order to have that breakthrough, in order to have that level up, in order to have all of the things, all of the little cogs in the wheels align perfectly for you, you're going to have to make the moves. You're going to have to push through. You're going to have to turn that knob to get there. If you know that, then it really doesn't make any sense to worry about it. Yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable. You know that. Yeah, it's going to be, and it's normal to have fear. You know, it's normal for an expecting mom to be terrified of childbirth. It's normal for if you're starting your own business and you're saying, I just want to go full bore into this. So I'm going to leave my job and put all of my energy into this. I used to have the phrase, if you want to take the island, burn your boats, because it was my lock screen for like so many years, because I love the mentality of don't want something that you're not willing to go all in on. And this isn't like love David Goggins. This isn't like the David Goggins, ooh rah, go hard for everything that you want. I'm talking about the real stuff. I'm talking about the deeper stuff. I'm talking about the uncomfortable stuff, not just the push through, not just the mental resilience, but truly accepting that there's going to have to be a lot of shit that can't come with you to the next level. And that's uncomfortable to leave behind. That oftentimes requires a breakdown. That oftentimes requires taking inventory of everything in your life, everyone in your circle, the environment you spend your time in, the conversations you have, the media you consume, the social media you look at, the books you read, all of it, and being a little ruthless with what can stay and what has to go. That's part of the breakdown. That's part of something's got to make space for the new to come in. You have to be purged. You have to be pushed. You have to be squeezed a bit in order to get to that next level. And for me, I've really been able to see what I'm made of and have my confidence come from a genuine place, like a true place of, I have proven to myself who the fuck I am. Because the first time that I was thrust into the middle of this situation with the like, oh my God, how am I going to navigate this? It's so stressful. I'm so upset. It feels like my whole world is crumbling and falling apart and I don't know what to do. Watching and witnessing the way that all of that came together for the most beautiful outcome was like, okay, all right, we're okay. We made it through. We came out on the other side. It's like you're almost surprised. It's like when you're seeing yourself about to go into this battle, and yeah, you come out with a couple scrapes and bruises, but you're like, oh, I made it. I made it out. Okay, all right, we got there. And then the next big situation comes, and this one's also life altering, and this one's also so scary and upsetting. And oh my God, how am I going to get through this? I'm losing it. I'm dying. How are we going to make it? And then you come out of that one. And then you saw how that situation worked out even better than you could have imagined. And so now you have two to look back on, and you're like, okay, those were scary. Yeah, that was crazy and hard, but I got through it. And then you see the perspective of, if those things hadn't happened to me, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be in this space that I'm in that's pretty beautiful and pretty incredible and amazing. And I really like it here. And then you have another level. And you go into it a little bit differently. Instead of being more scared, more apprehensive, you kind of start thinking back to, well, hold on, I've already been through some hard shit. And not only did it work out pretty well, because of what I went through and how I navigated it, I'm actually in like a far better place. Like if you ever played Chutes and Ladders, I actually just took like multiple ladders that only came from going down the chutes. If you've never played this game, you're going to have no idea what I'm talking about, but I used to play it all the time when I was a kid. You would like start on the board, you have these little pieces, and you roll a dice, and whatever you land on is either a ladder that takes you up the game or a chute, like a slide that takes you down. And sometimes you would land on a chute, but it would take you technically down the board, down the game, but it would put you one or two spaces away from a ladder, and then you could roll that and go up even higher than you could have gone if you hadn't had to take the chute. Like, that's how this works. You think that this situation is like a shitstorm, but then you get out of it and you're like, wait a minute, if that hadn't fallen apart in that way, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be at this place on the game board. I wouldn't be having this experience. I wouldn't have met this person. I wouldn't have had this opportunity. Every shitty thing that happens to you, you get to say how it works out for your life. You can't ever avoid a shitty life. It's never going to happen. Everyone has shitty lives. Everyone has bad things that happen. Everyone has horrible family members or death or horrible friends or partners or divorce or illness or whatever it is. Everyone has bad things happen. You can't control that, but you can control how you respond to it. And that's it. That's all that is within your control. And that's kind of freeing when you think about it. You're like, well, I keep proving to myself that I can handle the horrors of life. Like, I can handle when bad things happen. I keep seeing multiple situations play out where even if I'm dealt a bad hand, I'm going to play it the best that I possibly can. And then you end up winning the game. And then you end up coming out on top. And then you end up further on the game board. So if you have that, when the fourth situation comes your way, you go, whoa, okay, hold on. I've been here so many times. This is comical. The last multiple times I thought that, oh my God, this situation's bad. It's going to end me. Whoa. That was when everything started to work out. And I just need to trust the process and trust myself, because I know that it's going to work out. And let me tell you, like, those of us who are divinely supported and who trust in the energies and the universe and whatever you believe in as far as a higher power or spirit guides or whatever the case is, you know that those situations often have to hit that really uncomfortable breakdown. And all you got to do is push through and trust, and the opportunities fall into your lap. The open doors will open. But you got to go through the brush to see it. You got to go through the woods where everything's dark and scary, and you have to find the right path that way. This has happened to me so many times. Like, it's actually crazy. At some point, I'm going to reveal everything in great detail at some point in the near future. But I can say that with this most recent upheaval, with all of these different components being in the air and me feeling like I don't know which thing is going to drop, but I have to catch it, but I don't know where it's coming from, and I don't know how it's going to be or how it's going to work or what's going to happen. I just feel like I'm good. I just feel fine. I know it's going to work out because it always has. Every single time that I've freaked out and stressed out has been for nothing. You have no idea what could happen tomorrow. You have no idea who you could meet. You have no idea the conversations you could have. You had no idea what you could post that somebody resonates with and then says something to you. You have no idea if you decide to go to a different coffee shop because the line at your usual one is too long, and then you meet somebody and you have this connection, and you have no idea. Everything could open up for you in a moment's notice. Anytime that you're faced with a bunch of horrible situations going wrong in your life, anytime that you're faced with a bunch of adversity and you feel like everything's collapsing and, oh my God, it's such a mess and I'm freaking out and everything's bad and what am I going to do in my anxiety and my depression and I can't sleep. Remember that you have no idea what could happen. And that's a good thing because your mind is telling you that it's all worst case scenario. But there's an infinite amount of possibilities. Like the butterfly effect. They all connect, they all lead to each other. One decision that you make, even if you don't try to make it consciously, even if it's a small thing, could lead to your greatest outcome. And I shared this story with my friend too. I said it was crazy because I was working in bottle service and, I had to, like, this year. So the trajectory was, I shared, my ex-husband and I, we owned this house together and we had agreed in our divorce paperwork that we would have to sell it and split the proceedings. And there was like a certain amount of debt we both had to pay off, and he had a really good job and I was like kind of struggling, and so he paid off his debt right away and I had to pay it off, and I had a deadline. And if I didn't pay it off by that deadline, I had agreed, legally signed everything, that the house would be up for sale. And at this point, like, I didn't have really good income. And then I randomly reached out to my friend asking if he knew of anyone that was hiring for anything. And he was like, actually, yeah, we're about to need like bottle service people for this pool that we're opening. And I was like, okay, I can do that. I've done that. And then I was able to make exactly the amount that I needed and pay off my debt and keep the house and then sell it when I was ready to, not when I was forced to. That happened so fast. That was such a crazy coincidence, the way that it all worked. And that happened to be a job where I didn't need to work until 3 a.m. like most bottle service jobs. It was during the day at a pool club, and like, even though some experiences that I had there were like not great, and I should probably do a whole podcast about that at some point, it was still about the best that situation could have worked out, where I only worked weekends. I could still be there with the girls. I was able to make exactly what I needed to pay off the debt, keep the house, not be, stranded looking for a new place to live with the girls. And I was able to sell the house in my own time and do it under my decision, not something that I was forced to do. Like, that came out of nowhere. And then I decided to leave that job because it was compromising my integrity. Like, even though the money was good, I didn't feel good about what I was doing. I wanted to finally be in some kind of role where I was actually using my intellect and my communication skills and all of my other skill sets that weren't based on my appearance to make money. And so I quit that job, and I was just kind of floating, kind of waiting for something to fall into my lap for a couple of months. And it started to get a little scary, and I started to feel a little pinched. And I was like, oh my God, my credit cards are almost maxed out. I'm running out of the savings that I had. Like, what am I going to do? I have kids. This is scary. And then randomly, I see on Instagram that this person that I know is a business coach for someone and that she's hiring, and I check her out and she looks legit. And that's where I've been the past 3 years. Like, these things always work out. Everything always works out. That pinching that I felt in both of those scenarios actually led me to be able to break through and make the moves necessary that I could not have made if I was comfortable, that I could not have made if I wasn't focused on advancing forward. And every step that I've taken has led to a greater path unfolding for the future that I'm working towards, for what I'm trying to give and contribute to the world. It always works out every time. So with this most recent situation, not stressed. Maybe little moments, maybe here and there, I'm like, oh shit, like what? It's human. This delusional stuff is great, but like, you still have human moments. But every little human moment I have, that confidence comes back of, hey girl, you've gotten through everything. It's always worked out. You've never had to really worry. You have worried, but things always work out even better. Even though you just dropped down through that chute, down to the bottom of the game board, you're 2 steps away from taking that ladder up to the top and winning. And you wouldn't have gotten there if you had just kept making those little steps. Sometimes you need to take that step back. Sometimes you need to get knocked back to get back in alignment on the right path. Yeah, a lot of times things have to get messy before they can get fixed. A lot of times you have to get knocked off of the path that you're on to get back on the right one, to get on one that's better for you, to get on one that actually aligns with your future. Yeah, you can play it safe forever. Go ahead. Let me know where that lands you. And if that makes you truly happy to stay on the same path, doing the same thing for the rest of your life, never having adversity, variety, change, if that truly makes you happy and fulfilled, go for it. But that sounds like a half-lived life to me. I would so much rather, if I knew that the path that led towards everything I wanted and everything that I'm working towards, if I knew that the only way to get there was to go through a bunch of shit, 100 times out of 100 would choose it. And I do, because I know my path isn't easy. I know my path is going to have a lot of adversity. It already has. I'm not scared of it. I just know it's a part of the process for purging everything that's not meant for me, for breaking down and pushing out and squeezing everything that's not supposed to be there, and getting in alignment with what is, and being in a process of moving forward and navigating and figuring it out and trusting, knowing, leaning into that deep internal knowing that you're fine, that you got this, that everything can be figured out, that you have so much internal fortitude, so much resilience, so much emotional intelligence, so much connection to your inner self, so much connection to your intuition to be able to navigate anything. You've got all the tools. You're ready. You don't need to be afraid of that unknown and of that breaking down. It comes right before your breakthrough every time. So if you've been going through the shit, number one, hi, right here with you. We're in this together. Okay, bestie, you and me. 2, know that it's because the big thing is about to happen. Know that you're going through that because you're about to have that breakthrough. You're about to have that, oh, this is why I had to get knocked down to get back on the right path so I could shoot up to where I'm supposed to be. I could have maybe eventually gotten here, but it wouldn't have been as great. And I wouldn't have shown myself what I'm made of by playing it safe. Go through it. Go through that breakdown. Go through that purging. Go through the scary and the nerve-wracking and the anxiety-inducing. Go through it. You can do it. You're fine. You got all the tools. And come out on the other side, not only being where you want to be, not only being able to look over your shoulder and be like, wow, that worked out so much better than I thought it was going to. Oh my God, if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here. Oh my God, if this thing hadn't happened, I would have met that person that would have led me here. That wouldn't have opened up this opportunity. That wouldn't have moved this piece. Trust that it's all going to happen. And have that confidence in yourself, having shown yourself what you're made of, and that you can get through anything, that you can overcome anything, that nothing is greater than you and your resilience and your self-trust and your confidence and your knowing that everything is going to work out. And I will leave you with that. Everything's going to be great. I'm so excited. I can't wait to share more. You are wonderful. You are incredible. And I, as always, am rooting for you, cheering you on, loving you. I will talk to you next week.